Hey guys, welcome to Ringsiders, our first interview of the new year, 2022. Happy New Year to everybody. We are joined today by Cody Hancock, Jacob Austin Young, DEATHxPROOF. How you doing, boys?
I'm doing well. How about you?
We're getting there. It's a pleasure to have you. It really is. It's been a few weeks, hasn't it, Callum? So we're a bit rusty.
It's been a few weeks. Yeah, it's been a few weeks, and like I said, pre-interview I've just finally got COVID, so that's been great.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah, it's the new one as well, the new shiny one. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot better now, but I'm excited for this first interview of 2022. And when Jamie said we've got you coming on, I was excited because I've always thought the name DEATHxPROOF is such a sick name for a team. So straight on that, I mean, how did you come up with DEATHxPROOF? Whose idea was that?
Credit goes to Remy Marcel, the 86er. We were put together for the Future Stars of Wrestling 10-year anniversary as kind of like a reunion act.
Right.
And we were in a stable called The Following that had Bryce Harrison, Big Duke, and Shelly Martinez. Shout out Shelly, who was wonderful. And then after that show, it just kind of turned out that me and Jay were able to start teaming again, and we couldn't really find a name.
I love it.
When you finally got the name and everything, did it all come together quite quickly for you? Because we've spoken to a few teams in the past, and they've said, like, obviously it can take a while to get that chemistry. It can take a while for everything to come together. What was it like for you guys?
So just to give a little bit more detail on that is that Jay was going as Jay Cafe after a tour of China.
Right.
And I think that Remy was thinking of Death Wish Coffee.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he just blurted out DEATHxPROOF, and I think that we were both just like, yeah, fuck it, we're doing that.
Yeah. I love that. It's such a cool name.
I love it. Yeah, well, I was like, I was getting Tarantino vibes because of DEATHxPROOF, the film, but hey, dude, Death Wish. We're all coffee guys here, I'm guessing, so that's cool with me. I'm down with that. But were you both? Was tag team wrestling something you both wanted to get into from the start?
For me, I teamed with a lot of different guys throughout the time at FSW, including Cody when we were part of The Following. I was in a faction called the Strong Style Squad. When I started wrestling, I was in a tag team. So it's something that I'd always done, but we never won the or at least for myself at the time, I'd never won the tag championships. So when we got put together and the option was there, Joe DeFalco, who books FSW, came to us and was like, would you guys want a team regularly? And it was something that I kind of was like, you know what? Yeah, I would like to do this. And, you guys were asking about the chemistry, and it's like, we had the chemistry there. Cody and I had been training, like when I started at FSW, Cody was already there. And there was always like little bits of chemistry when we'd get in there and train together. And then we were teaming as part of The Following. So we got to explore that even more starting like in 2019, once we started teaming regularly.
And admittingly for me, I had never really been in a successful tag team. I had been put in tag teams before, and one of my goals was to actually kind of make it work. Like Jay and I, we would get paired together whenever Duke couldn't make it to town, and Big Duke and me were actually the tag team that was in The Following, and we had good matches, but we didn't really have a move set. We didn't have really more of a dynamic other than I was the one that got beat up and he was the big guy that got tagged in to beat everybody up. That was kind of the dynamic that me and Duke had. So whereas Jay and I always had really good chemistry, like he said, Jay is like really influenced by New Japan and I'm really influenced by All Japan. Right. So Jay throws the kicks and I throw the elbows. Yeah. And we were able to really kind of make things click just by having complementary styles, but not similar styles.
How important, this is one thing I always ask tag teams when we get them on, How important do you think it is for a tag team? Like you said, chemistry, you have to have chemistry. But what about like having similar attires and coming out to the same music, having that move set together? How important is that full package for a tag team? Because there's quite a few nowadays you see, especially on TV, where they are just thrown together tag teams and they don't always work. For you guys, how important is it to have like those similarities as a tag team? Do you think it's vital for a tag team success?
Yeah, I would say 100%. I think it just shows like a packaged, like you said, packaged like kind of deal. I don't know, man. When I would look at tag teams and like tag team wrestling, and you think of like, I think of like the 80s as like the heyday for tag wrestling when it was really appreciated. And, and you see it a little bit nowadays with like certain guys, especially like FTR, I think are probably, in my opinion, like one of the best teams going today. I'd throw the New Day as well as the Usos in there. It's probably like three of the best like tag teams. And it just, as like a product that is being shown when it's like in sync, it just, I don't know. You feel like it does more for whatever the show, for the performers, whatever it is.
Yeah. And you mentioned it, FTR. Can we just take a second to appreciate how good their new entrance theme is? Have you heard the new one? It's based on the Midnight Express theme. I think it's incredible. Some people were complaining that it's cheesy, but that's the whole point.
But you also, I think that there's a reluctance for current day wrestling fans to go back and appreciate what was.
Yeah.
I'm a massive tape guy, and I watch new stuff. I watch old stuff. I'll watch backyard wrestling to pull stuff from it. If it says wrestling, I'll watch it. And just to kind of daisy chain off what Jay was saying, I do believe it's also important for a tag team to look like they at least want to be a tag team together. Me and Jake we're not the killer bees. You know what I'm saying? We're not wearing the exact identical gear, but we're sticking to the same color scheme. We have a logo that Jay rocks on his knee pad and I rock on my boots. Like we collectively look like we have a relationship with each other and a friendship that carries through wrestling. And I've been in tag teams before where the person necessarily may have not wanted to team with me and would it go as far to not even get gear that matched mine, or the same, even the same color scheme just helps.
Yeah, the same color scheme for me is a big deal as well. I'm very picky when it comes to, I like things to match. I like symmetry, even in my wrestling tag teams. So when you see like FTR, that's two guys who have the same goal in wrestling. If you're a new viewer and you see FTR, they're a unit. And I think that just helps with the overall presentation of a team. You don't have to explain it to people. I don't mind if it's like a one night only teaming of two randomers, but otherwise, give me some kind of consistency. I don't know if that's just me being a picky fan, but that's how I've always liked it.
I agree. And just to sidetrack again, I've not actually heard FTR's new theme music.
It's so good, dude. You will love it. If you like the 80s and you like the Midnight Express, you'll love it.
I just find it very hard to believe that wrestling fans are complaining about something. I'm sorry.
that never happens.
I found that very hard to believe.
On Twitter? No.
Never. But obviously, future stars of wrestling as well. I mean, how's it been? Obviously, working there. Obviously, there's been the pandemic. Now we're kind of back again. What's it like being working for future stars of wrestling?
We've been there for so long, at the beginning of the pandemic. So it's like, I remember in March, and then we probably didn't get back to doing shows until like later in like maybe September of 2020 initially. And at that point we were being very careful. Everybody was wearing masks, very light crowds, typically it was probably just friends and family, up until, things started to kind of calm down going into the beginning of this last year when, we were able to get rocking and rolling again, which was really nice. They still promote, for everybody's safety about wearing the masks and, being vaccinated and, what have you. So since I would say the beginning of 2021 last year at this point, things have been finally consistent and going well. And, we got to have probably one of our best years, because we had just started tagging in 2019, like probably middle of the way through. And then that just led into, we'd ended like a big feud and then the pandemic hit. And so then we were kind of like, oh, we're just waiting to do the next thing. And then once we got rocking and rolling again, we really made things happen this last year.
Yeah, it was something that I think that the pandemic hit everybody in a different way. And I think for both Jay and I, we took that as an opportunity we weren't having as many shows. So we got ourselves into the gym. Jay got a personal trainer and my fiance is a power lifter and her trainer ended up kind of stepping up and helping me. And I've got a bunch of really big meathead friends that are just really, really valuable resources when it comes to that information. So by the time things kind of started picking back up, both of us were in the best shape of our lives. And so it was something that there was some frustrations there just because you just didn't know what was going to happen. And even Jay and I do stick solid as a tag team, but we also separately do singles things. Jay had an absolutely fantastic match with Davey Richards. And it's like, it was one of the coolest moments for me to see my friend get this thing that he deserved. And I also had a night where I ended up teaming with somebody that broke me in the business, Funny Bone, and we teamed against AJ Gray and Nick Gage. And Jay's not necessarily the deathmatch dude. I'm kind of the deathmatch dude. So, for me, I grew up kind of tape trading and watching CZW, and I think that Nick Gage is a fucking hero. And it's a redemption story. Like it goes to show that you can fuck up something in life and you can definitely come back from it. And AJ Gray, outside of being a deathmatch wrestler, he should be fucking respected. He's a great professional wrestler. Yeah. And we both had these really big moments together as a tag team, winning the Future Stars of Wrestling Tag Team Championships. Yeah. And then we also had these moments where on our own, we were able to do our own thing. And like 2021 was super exciting. And I mean, we're literally just starting the new year. So it can only get better from here.
So yeah, I wanted to ask you about Davey Richards, but first, actually, Cody, talking deathmatch wrestling, we've had a few deathmatch wrestlers on during the pandemic, and I just want your thoughts as well, actually, because I feel like deathmatch wrestling has gained a lot more respect in the wrestling business these past few years. People have taken it more seriously. Like, there's an art form to this. Is that something you see? You agree with?
There's a lot of different feelings and emotions that I have about deathmatch wrestling, because when I was growing up, I was a sick kid and I was overweight and I loved wrestling and I couldn't see myself being Eddie Guerrero and I couldn't see myself being Brock Lesnar, but I could see myself doing things that Mick Foley did. And I think that if anyone wants to find out my opinion about deathmatch wrestling, watch the first 10 minutes of The Trade, Nick Mondo's film that's available on Amazon Prime. Oh, wow. And if you haven't seen this, he opens this film with a conversation that he had with Wife Beater before the Tournament of Death 2 finals. And he had asked Wife Beater, why do you do this? Why would you subject yourself to what we're about to do? And Wife Beater told him, because I had a fucked up childhood. And, not to harp too hard on it, but I kind of came up hard. And there's aspects of deathmatch wrestling that I do think are an art form. Yeah. And I also do think that it's glorified self-mutilation. And it's something that I don't do all the time. Like, I don't want to be known as a deathmatch wrestler. I want to be known as a wrestler that can do anything.
Yeah.
And I respect anyone that would make a craft. Masada he's an amazing wrestler, but it just so happens that he stabs people with skewers and things like that. And I mean, Atticus Cogar is an amazing professional wrestler. It's just he's willing to make these sacrifices to make people react. And like I said, I don't want to call it a love-hate relationship, but I have a deep understanding of every aspect of it.
Yeah. I think when it's done right, it can be a very good thing to watch.
Yes.
If there's a story there, I'll watch it. Like, if there's a good story in the death match, I'll watch it. I find it really hard to watch any match where I'm not completely invested in both performers. If they're telling me a good story, I'll watch it. And I think you can definitely do that with deathmatch wrestling. So I can be interested. But if it is just somebody bleeding for no reason, it kind of takes me out of it for some reason as a fan. But if there's a story there, like if there's a Hell in a Cell match and someone's bleeding, it's the end of a blood feud, I'm all for it.
Yes. And I think that's the big takeaway is that I've only bled, I think 5 times in my career. And I'm not talking about like getting a split eye or a busted nose. I'm talking about like glass and thumbtacks and barbed wire.
Yeah.
And they've always been the end of a blood feud. Whereas I think something that the deathmatch community uses to get deathmatch shows is tournaments, because of course in a tournament setting that gives it justification. But if there's no tournament setting, if there's no prize to win, and if there's no beef to be settled, it does seem senseless.
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously, moving on to Jay, and I'll mention quickly, where can Davey Richards? I mean, what was that experience like? So I think Davey's one of them guys I don't think gets enough credit in the business.
Davey's one of the most underrated wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. He's incredible. But Jay, like, it must, for you, like Jamie said, must have been incredible, because I'm guessing you're an independent wrestling fan too, going back a while. Must have been amazing getting in the ring with him.
Yeah, when I started wrestling, I had this friend that I was talking to who's kind of giving me information about the business before I started training. And I remember being like, I want to be like Davey Richards.
Wow.
Because this would have been like 2011. This was like peak ROH, like at his time when he was their ROH champion. And he's just incredible. It's you have like an expectation sometimes when you get kind of matches with bigger performers of kind of like, okay, maybe, they'll be like this. Cause I've gotten my opportunities to wrestle what we call name guys. Right. And then you get in there and it completely blows your mind. Like the entire time, like I'm trying to have this match and perform and like meet his level, but also I'm being in awe this entire time of getting my ass kicked by Davey Richards, of being like, what a professional. Like it just changes your idea of like how you are as a performer and how you hold yourself. And it's just inspiring. It's very much like that was the last match. No, it wasn't. It was the second to last match I've had this year. Or my third last match. It just I've been like obsessed of it like since. Like I'll go back and I watch it and I just like I got a lot of credit. Joe told me it was his favorite match of the night, and it's on the FSW match of the year list, and that's kind of like really nice to see, because I was just going in there to kind of hang with him and try to learn as much as I could, and to have it be perceived as like really good. It just it's very fulfilling. Like, man, I'm doing well.
Awesome.
And I just want to keep thank you. I just want to keep doing that kind of stuff,
I think it's cool that in wrestling, it's the only place you can get your ass kicked by somebody, and at the time you're thinking, wow, this is great. What that doesn't happen anywhere else.
It is, yeah. He's such an underrated guy. Another guy that I was doing a bit of research, I know you've both been in the ring with. I wanted to get your thoughts on working with Hammerstone as well. He seems to be a guy that a lot of people have got a lot of positive things to say about. The think he's going to be a big star. What was it like being in the ring with him?
So I've wrestled with Hammer a bunch. We've done tag matches when he was a little bit earlier in the career. We did tag stuff, but I've had a few singles matches with him in the last few years. And Hammer's like, I feel like it's a little, I guess, I wouldn't say it's cliche, but people talk about the prototypical wrestler, right? You know, people use like a Randy Orton as an example. Yeah. Hammerstone is like the prototypical wrestler. Like and it's not just like, oh, he looks good, because he looks amazing. I've gotten to train with him in the gym and he works his ass off. But as a performer, he's like, no, I'm going to go out there and work my ass off regardless of like, oh, what the expectation of like big guy wrestling is, you know? And I think that's why people, you know, think so highly of him, because he is such an incredible performer inside the ring and out.
That's such a good way of putting it. Hammerstone is like, if you've ever played like the SmackDown versus Raw games or anything, is like if you make the Ultimate Wrestler on the Creator Wrestler mode, but then give them the best moveset as well, and then bunk all of the stats up to like 90, that's Hammerstone. Yes. You know? yeah. He's just such a all-round good wrestler. He looks like $1 million. He can wrestle. Like you said, he breaks the mold of a big guy wrestler. So I think that's what we're starting to see nowadays, is these big men who are, you know, not just like a WWE big man, but they're breaking the mold of what a big man wrestler is. And I think that's why we're getting so many good hoss fights on the independents right now, because there's so many big hoss wrestlers who can really work.
Yep, I would love to see Hammerstone versus Shane Mercer. I think that would be just an absolutely fucking wild match. Yes. And me and Jay geographically live in different places. I'm in Vegas and Jay is in Arizona. Jay was in Vegas for a long time, but he went back home. I haven't been in a ring with Hammerstone in a really long time. And the last time I was in the ring with Hammerstone, it was when I went through a really radical weight loss. And I would have a very different match with Hammerstone now than I did back then, and I would be far more capable of doing things now. But Hammerstone is somebody that I have never seen mail it in. And there's a few people that I think that they should change their gimmicks to working for the post office, because you know, like it's tiring when you have to get in a car and you drive 5 to 8 hours to the venue. You have to get out of the car and then you have to get your gear on and then wrestle and get back in your car and leave again. Hammerstone and Jay said specifically, it's not just steroids that make Hammerstone look good, right? And Hammerstone is, I think, a hero right now because he's very open about the things that he does. Yeah. But the work that he puts in is real work. And for any clown that wants to make some comment that hasn't even gone to the gym with or without supplementation, you know, I'm a big fan of the fact that he just has a shirt that just says testosterone. I think it's absolute. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and I think that there's a lot more things that people should educate themselves about before they speak on it. Absolutely. And I think Hammerstone. My favorite story about him is the fact that he used to wear the briefs and he had the long hair, and he did a tryout for Impact, and they said, "We can't use you because you look like Triple H." Hammerstone went and cut his hair, and then went and bought a pair of so Hammerstone was told that he couldn't be used by Impact. So he went and got a haircut and then went and got a pair of stretchy jeans and then bought a leather jacket and then came back the next day looking like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. And then they had to use him. So he's somebody that is willing to do absolutely anything for the industry, and he deserves all the credit and recognition that he's getting right now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We've like you said,
He works so hard, doesn't he? He works so hard to. You see it on his Instagram if you follow him. You see it on his Twitter if you follow him. He's just one of those guys who seems like such a genuine, nice family guy too. Like does anything for his family by the looks of it, and seems like such a humble guy, always willing to learn. And I think it's on. I know he's at the top of MLW at the moment. I don't think it's long until he's the top of the wrestling industry in some way. He's just one of those guys. So yeah, that's a cool story though. Like that dedication to cut your hair and then come back as Brad Pitt instead of Triple H. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Must be nice to have those options, To
yeah, right.
Imagine it's not bad, is it? But I wanted to ask someone else. Before I did, I just realised for some reason, I don't know if it's the lighting or not, but Callum really looks like the Undertaker tonight. Maybe I'm just going crazy. I don't know. But I don't know, Callum. I don't know if it's the lighting that you've got or something.
Might be the COVID. I don't know.
You're looking like the dead man.
When you have one and your hair. Yeah. Anyway.
Hat back on. Fucking hell.
Well, I know we've got the link back on, but I know we won't have much longer. But what I did want to ask as well was obviously FSW versus GCW. I mean, what's your thoughts on what GCW have been doing during the pandemic? Because me personally, I think they've been one of the standout companies, if not the standout, for keeping the industry alive during the pandemic. I mean, what's it like being working with us and stuff like that?
I mean, when we did the FSW versus GCW show, that was SummerSlam weekend in Vegas. WWE was running in the new Raiders Stadium, which is a really beautiful stadium. If you ever get the chance to ever come to Vegas, it's right like off to the left of the strip, and it's beautiful. So we did a lot of shows that weekend. I think there was like 6 or 7 shows that weekend, and that opportunity, gave some light for some of the local talent who haven't been as seen as some of the GCW guys. So it was like a cool opportunity to work together. And as far as what they've been doing the last year, I think it's such a combination of everything. So we can just say GCW as a whole, but if you think about it, it's the people behind the scenes, it's the performers, and then it's the fan base. Something that I've always talked about is like what helps build stars is as much as the performers as it is the fan base, because it's the people talking about shows, it's the people retweeting and sharing stuff that is what helps people be seen, because like just the right retweet and the right person getting eyes on somebody could lead to some sort of work or a job even. So it's just cool to see that, as well as like younger guys get opportunities. So earlier this year I wrestled for a company called Relentless Wrestling in Spokane. Me and Cody are going back up at the end of the month, and my first show out there I wrestled this kid named Nick Wayne, who is this like 16-year-old kid out of the Pacific Northwest who's been on some GCW shows as of late, son of Buddy Wayne. And he's incredible. He's young, he's talented, he's athletic, and he's so young, and he's going to be doing so many things, in the future. And he's already getting these opportunities because of GCW. And I don't know if it was Joey Janela that saw him and then helped get him the opportunity, but I know that they recently had like a banger of a match at Defy. So it's cool to see that the opportunities are there and opportunities are going around to multiple people.
And go on, Cody, sorry.
No worries. I'm getting a little bit of static. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I think for me, and I don't think that Brett Lauderdale likes the comparison of GCW to ECW sometimes, because I've seen him go on Twitter and say, hey, but I think the thing that made ECW special is that it didn't matter where anyone was on the card. They all stood out very strongly. And it was a company that I knew that I wanted to work for. And I'm really proud of that FSW versus GCW show, because the entire card from top to bottom was just an amazing show. And that was something that I think that they're doing it their own way. And regardless of what anyone has to say about it, who gives a shit? They're just going to keep on pushing. And it's added to the renaissance of what independent professional wrestling is.
Yeah, it's got its own identity. I get why people say the ECW comparison, sure, but the thing that made ECW so distinct was it had its own character, its own personality, its own vibe, its own atmosphere, you know, and that's what GCW has. It's got its very rabid fans who love the product, support it no matter what, and each of the wrestlers is unique in their own ways too. And I think that's what makes GCW so different, is the wrestlers are so unique, the product feels different. So yeah, in a lot of ways it's like ECW, but at the same time it's really not. And I think that's what makes it so cool. Like, I love GCW, I really do. I wasn't a fan before, I'll be honest. When I first heard of GCW, it was through GIFs on Twitter, and I was like, is this just another deathmatch, you know, promotion? I'm probably not going to enjoy this if it is just death matches, but it's really not. It's got a mix of everything. You know, it's good wrestling, good up-and-coming wrestlers, tag team wrestling, amazing women's wrestling. If you like wrestling, you'll probably like GCW.
Yes.
Yeah. And look, I mean, GCW made Matt Cardona the most hated guy in the world of wrestling. I mean,
so good.
Right? It was fantastic.
Jeff Jarrett's in GCW now. What the hell?
I mean, Scotty Too Hottie just had the match with Joey Janela.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that variety.
Isn't it? It's the place to be. Before, obviously, you know, we run out of time again. I know you mentioned earlier, Cody, you've got a busy January coming up. I mean, what have you guys got coming up this month?
So Jay and I are going to be going down to Arizona Wrestling Federation on January 22nd to take on the current tag team champions and Lights Camera Faction. And that's going to be the team of Fresco, Maddock, and Watson. After that, I think both Jay and I are in singles competition for Kraken Pro. That's running out of the Versus Arena. I'll be taking on Brett the Threat, who's a student of Future Stars of Wrestling. And Jay, what do you have on that?
I'm wrestling Papa Yase, formerly known as Jay's Battle, formerly a tag team partner of mine in the Strong Style Squad. So it'll be definitely the first time that we've ever wrestled a one-on-one match against each other. And so it's going to be definitely interesting. You know, we've always really wanted this match because of the chemistry that we had as a team. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of magic we can pull off in a singles match.
So you've both got
then after that, we've got January 29th at Relentless. That's going to be in Spokane, Washington, Jay? Spokane, my apologies. And then after that, we're going to be heading back and defending the Without a Cause Tag Team Championships.
Yeah, we can't really say anything about what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're just waiting to see who the opponents are, because we haven't really heard anything yet. But yeah, we'll be returning to Without a Cause to defend the Tag Team Championships again.
And that's January 30th.
Yeah, and we always ask as well. Obviously, with the world opening up and stuff, are you two guys hoping to maybe get across here to the UK at some point?
Yes. I mean, I think that both Jay and I are passport ready, and we're vaxxed and boosted, and we're ready to go wherever we can.
Yeah. I actually got to spend some time in the UK. My father was in the Air Force, and so he was stationed over there. And so I spent a lot of summers over there, and we'd go, like, he'd take me camping, and then we go to castles and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. I got to do a lot of international travel because of my dad, and so I'm very thankful for that. I'd love to get the chance to wrestle out in the UK. Our friend G Sharp just did a tour. I don't remember if he got to wrestle in England. I know he did OTT, and then he did some stuff in Spain as well. But yeah, I just for me, especially, we're talking about tag teams. An Englishman, Zack Sabre Jr., a part of Dangerous Techers in New Japan, I thought it was a really good team. So it's like you see guys like that, and there's just so much incredible talent, and so I think there's going to be an opportunity this year to get out there and maybe spend some time, and then just try to find whatever companies are willing and able to accept some good old American boys to throw down, like
absolutely
some elbows and some kicks.
Yes.
Give a shout out as well. I know we're quite proud of our wrestling scene too, but we speak to a lot of wrestlers from Scandinavia, like Sweden, Finland, Norway, etc. And if you haven't seen what they're doing over there at the moment, they've got a really good emerging wrestling scene in in all of those countries. You know, Finland, Sweden, they're all really like taking some big strides and getting these good promotions, good home-trained wrestlers in those countries. And it's not too far from us. It's like an hour on the plane or two. So if ever you do come here, look into doing Scandinavia too, because there's some really good promotions and wrestlers there as well.
Send us links, man.
Yeah,
like I love just watching wrestling.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think both Jay and I are in a situation in life right now to where we're able to go on the road. You know, we're ready to show people what we got. And I think one of the hardest challenges just being an independent wrestler is getting people to respond to that email or respond to that tweet. But I think that we're both in a situation to where we're just going to kind of do it old school and show up with a bag if we have to, and just be like, hey, we're here. If you want to use us, you can.
Hell yeah.
You know?
I'll drink to that. I like that. But honestly, like Callum said, that the Scandinavian scene, there's body slam wrestling in Denmark as well.
Okay, cool.
There's Stockholm Championship Wrestling in Sweden. We're actually quite good friends with Marcus and Alice who work there. Very, very highly recommend checking them out.
The thing that you'll probably like about it as a wrestler is that these are countries that haven't had wrestling mainstream or even had wrestling promotions ever. Like, this is completely new to them. So the fans that you're performing in front of are new fans to wrestling. Like, they've maybe
they're not going to be jaded and bitter.
They're not bitter. They're not jaded. They're just there to drink some beer and watch some wrestling. Right? It's a different crowd, and I'm sure for you guys, if you went over, you know, you'd probably find that you might have to work a different style of match. You might not, but it might be a challenge or interesting for you. And because these are just people who they've just discovered wrestling, and I think that's really cool that there's all these emerging wrestling scenes all over the world that isn't just British wrestling or in America that are finally getting to enjoy their own homegrown wrestling.
Absolutely. I know Jay got the opportunity to be in China for a promotion that just started.
Yeah, so when me and a bunch of guys got to go and be a part of OWE, which is Oriental Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah.
Which, you guys, if you know, it was loosely associated with AEW in the beginning. Yeah. We saw some of the Strong Hearts guys, T-Hawk, El Lindemann, and Sema had done some of the early AEW shows prior to the pandemic. But when we were wrestling over there in Shanghai, this is an audience that had never seen wrestling, you know? So not only that, but the wrestling that the talent that we were working with was exposed to was primarily like Dragon Gate stuff, because that was what Sema was showing them as like the head trainer. So like that was really interesting to kind of see in that, like you're saying, that experiment of like what works and what, you know, what people find interesting, you know, because for the most part, I would say a lot of people's attention spans are kind of like on a similar wavelength, you know, as far as like maybe like an old school type of slow match might not be the best thing to show people out the gate. You know, you got to get them to appreciate the art of wrestling first. So getting out there and having some exciting matches, you know, is definitely a good way to like hook somebody. It's like when if you're going fishing, you put something nice on the rod to kind of bring them in. So that idea of like going out to these other places that haven't had wrestling and building the scene is just kind of like for me at least, a sense of pride that is like, I can help the people who are training and learning. Like I love those kids. They're on Instagram still. So it's like, I can see them training and getting super fit. They're all incredible young athletes, and, you know, getting to see what they're doing is really awesome, and just getting to help the wrestling scene. Because I think for me and Cody, especially after we've been doing this for so long, helping younger talent is just, I don't know, it's kind of nice, you know, because it's like for me, in my experience, I had the guys, my guys like Remy Marcel, Jack Manley, Tim Jackson, they were coming to me and helping me out, you know, when I was coming up. And so it's like, you kind of want to give back. Whereas like you hear a lot of stories about like people not doing that. And I feel like that's changed. I feel like there's a lot of guys who've been doing it for a while who are willing to help, and it's just going to make the business better for everybody.
I was just about to say, it's better for the business, you know. The business keeps getting stronger and stronger. You help each other out. I totally get that. I totally do. Before we run out of time again, obviously, because I don't want to do it again. Honestly, guys, I can't thank you enough for your time, and we'd love to get you back on in a few months' time, see how things are going, if you'd both be up for that.
By all means, 100%. Just let us know.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch. But obviously, is there anything else you want to promote? Any merchandise? I mean, you promoted it.
You've got sick t-shirts. I saw them on your stuff.
Yeah, just contact Jay or me via Twitter or Instagram, and I'm shipping shirts out. Like right now, I got to get to everyone that's in town that pre-ordered a shirt, but we had an amazing design that was made from Uncle X on Twitter, who's done a lot of work with people like John Moxley and Chris Dickinson, and stellar work.
Cody, do you have any of the shirts with you right now?
I do. I'm looking
to grab it so we can see it.
Yeah. I'm literally looking at them as we speak, and so
holy shit!
Yeah, isn't it good?
It's a super solid design, and I made sure to go to a printer that doesn't suck. So
it's like those good quality t-shirts as well. It's not like that WWE t-shirts are like cardboard when you're wearing them.
It's a very soft t-shirt, and I do have a podcast called Turnbuckle Boogie that I have with my friend that I often argue with on air frequently by the name of Timothy Styles. But we've been consistently plugging out an episode every other Monday. You can find us on social media. I'm at Cutthroat Cody on basically everything. Jay has different tags for Instagram and Twitter, I believe.
Yeah, unfortunately, because I have a 3-named pro wrestling name as Jacob Austin Young, Twitter only allows 14 characters, and I'm 1 letter too long for Twitter.
So annoying.
So I cannot be at Jacob Austin Young, but you can find me at Jacob Austin Young on Instagram, but you can find me on Twitter at Super J Cup. So Super JAY Cup.
Okay.
Thought that was kind of clever. On Twitter, and support. I have a link tree in my bio to my Brainbuster Tees store. You can pick up some retro J Cafe merch. I'm in the process of making some Jacob Austin Young stuff, but if you reach out to Cody about the DeathxPROOF shirts, we had the guy did great design, and then also to our colors. Our new colors are black and yellow currently, so it's like keeping the consistency as a team, like we do.
Love it.
That's the best way.
Famous, graphic designer and stuff. He'll put all the stuff up on the interview cam on the bottom. The logo. He'll put all the links. The links. I can't turn the computer on. The links. That's what it meant. The links. But we got there. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough. Wish you all the best, and we'll do this again in a few months.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for having us on. I hope you guys have a great new year. Again, thank you guys so much for this.
Anytime.
Had a blast, boys. We're looking forward to talking to you soon.
Hell yeah, guys. Speak soon.